But Mindaugas, can I turn to you first? Can you give us 10 minutes? You have the huge advantage of summing up at the end. So you don't have to overrun on this time because you have the final word right at the end.
Okay.
Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, everybody. Indeed, as for the small country to have the last word is very important in such honorable conference. But my speech about practical issues, how we see as a new member country, about greening issues, how we might implement in practice. And so we made some analysis to look how farmers react and how farmers would be affected. I'm not going to talk why greening was implemented, since in the first session Tasos did this job very well, but I would like to mention main topics from Commission proposal. What farmers shall observe, like the following agricultural practice that could be beneficial for the climate and environment. So those three magic topics, that to have 3 different crops on the arable land, to maintain existing permanent grassland on their holding, and to have ecological focus area on the agricultural land area. I'd like to underline an aspect that introduction of greening payment affects not only the farm payments from Pillar 1, but also it affects Pillar 2 payments, which means that the new baseline for agro-environmental measures will have to be defined. And therefore, we have to consider greening as a complex issue, having much broader impact on farms when it's just 3 my mentioned requirements. The implementation will definitely be a challenge not only for farmers but also for national institutions which administrate EU support. So it means we will need to invest additionally for administrating this issue. Under Danish presidency compromise text, farms with 10 hectares or more of arable land are subject to all those 3 greening requirements. Actually, now during Irish presidency, it increased to 15 hectares. Talking about Lithuania, as our agriculture is dominated by considerably most of small farms, so based on our analysis, greening requirements would be applicable for about 26% of all applicants. That means about 42,000 farms which declare about 80% of agricultural land. When investigating the structure of crops of these farms, we found that the majority of farms grew at least 3 crops, therefore meeting the first greening requirement of crop diversification should not be of major concern. Talking about the third greening requirement of ecological focus area, from the initial analysis, results seemed more challenging for us. However, our analysis also showed interesting results that the farm awareness about environmental issue grew with going with farm size. That means that with increasing farm size, the percentage of farms which fulfills the crop diversification requirement grows, the same as percentage of farms which leaves part of their land follow. It is also important to note here that some bigger farms has different attitude to ecological focus area. So for land to rest, instead of growing a crop on land, they seed the grass for 1 year, which they consider to be equivalent to land left fallow. Moreover, it appears that in some cases it might be even better than leaving land fallow in terms of soil erosion. Nevertheless, the maintenance of permanent pasture seems to be most hardest requirement for farmers, as it absolutely destroys the freedom of farming choice. That is no chance from shifting from livestock farming to plant growing farming. But in this new government, our highest priority cattle breeding, so thanks to the Commission proposal, who help to implement our priority in Lithuania. So from the ministry perspective, we support the idea in principle of greening payment, but we still see a number of issues here to be solved. Talking from farmers' perspective, they are very negative about these requirements. In their perspective, and for very simple reasons. You know, they already do a lot of environment through good agricultural environmental conditions, as well as statutory management requirements, and most importantly through agroenvironmental measures where such possibility exists. And all the time we talk about how to diminish administrative burden, and which would be, in my mind, the biggest concern from the farmers, that we will increase, and so we will make farmers instead of farmer, so we will make him as a second job an accountant. So that is the highest concern in my country from farmer side. But we agree with farmers from the sense that Lithuania is green comparing with countries of other old member states, and our agriculture is much less intensive, which is reflected by the agricultural productivity, and our landscape looks like much more natural, which is reflected by the forest covering 1/3 of the territory. Therefore, we believe that greening requirements should be adjusted respectively, as countries across the EU are different and the level of agricultural intensivity differs significantly, so should the greening requirements. As one of the options could be the list of requirements the country could choose to implement. And the main message here would be, so we do hope that greening as it is now will not be implemented in EU countries, because in our opinion the unitary implementation of greening requirements without taking member states' specificities across EU countries might even have adverse environmental effects. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mindaugas. That's made us think, really. That clearly you said that your ministry of agriculture in Vilnius supports in principle. It doesn't sound hugely strong support supporting in principle, and you say that your farmers are negative about greening for several reasons. And perhaps I could ask you to hold the question, can your farmers afford to be negative about the environment delivering? And perhaps, you know, when we come to questions, perhaps you could answer that, because we heard from Mr. Hammond earlier, well, the future of the CAP depends upon, or at least it was his view that the future of the CAP depends upon greening delivering genuine environmental outcomes. But can I leave you to hold that question and think about it for a moment or two, because I think this could be a serious issue. Can I now